measuring stick just changed around here, buddy. You're looking at it.
You are now listening to the Outsiders Podcast, the most exciting and hard-hitting show on the net. And now, bringing it hard as always, here are your hosts, Clint Schweitzer and Noah Groniger.
And thank you for joining us here on the Outsiders Podcast. Clint Schweitzer and Noah Groniger coming at you on a divisional playoff weekend. Implications are huge, and I can sit here and listen to this autumn thunder music all the day long, Noah.
Oh, so can I. We've got the Seahawks and Falcons, the Packers at the 49ers, the Ravens at the Broncos, and the Texans at the Patriots.
Could not be more excited. I'll tell you what, these matchups, this is where it really starts to get good. The nitty-gritty. It's like the end of a WWF Royal Rumble. You've got Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, you've got Andre the Giant, you've got the $1 Million Man, you've got Jake the Snake Roberts, Brutus the Barber Beefcake. They're all in there. Who's going to come out on top? We're going to find out who's going to come out on top of this. I'll tell you what, we're going to bring on our very special guest today is going to be Sean Salisbury. Guys,
the best ever. Love him.
The best in the business. I cannot wait. Every time he comes on, I get a little excited. And because he's just the best that there is. When you're talking NFL, the guy doesn't miss a beat. He is just the absolute best in the business. Him and John Clayton used to yuck it up on ESPN, and of course, you know, Sean, you can catch him at his Twitter, Sean Unfiltered. If you have a question, tweet it to him and he'll answer it.
Oh, he sure will.
Oh, he's the best. Going to bring him on talking about all these games, and we're going to even throw in a little Chiefs because we haven't talked to him since the Andy Reid hire. Got to see what he thinks about that. So one little non-playoff related topic might get thrown into the fray if we have a minute with Sean. But you know what? Sean is always very generous with his time. He usually will stay on and chat with us for quite a while, so I am very much looking forward to that. We're going to get his take, and whenever you have his take, you almost don't even need ours about these games. We talked about it a little bit previewing the games earlier in the week, but I'll tell you what, the games that jump out at me, because these have huge implications, I'd like the Green Bay-San Francisco game, and then on the other side, when it comes to the Patriots and Texans, I think those two games right there are going to are a snapshot of what could possibly be coming down the pike.
I don't know. I kind of like the whole NFC side because those are kind of closer matchups to me. I don't know who's going to win those. It's I picked the 49ers and the Seahawks, but I can easily see the Packers and Falcons coming out of there. But as far as the AFC side, I like the Broncos and Patriots, and I don't see how they lose.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we're 3 out of 4 on this because I'm going to go back to on the NFC side, which I think where we disagree, where I have Atlanta finally winning that playoff game. And I also have Green Bay coming up, with Aaron Rodgers and winning that game at San Francisco. But again, they're toss-ups. If Seattle wins that game in Atlanta, am I going to be surprised? Not one bit. And if San Francisco steps up, but to me, Rodgers, and we're going to ask Sean Salisbury about this, but when it comes to the quarterback matchups, they're all, except maybe Manning and Flacco, they're all pretty even. But definitely Rodgers, I'm going to give the nod over Colin Kaepernick, but San Francisco's defense is a monster right now. Best in the league, maybe aside from Denver's, whose defense is playing as well as anybody's.
That for the 49ers, and I like Frank Gore being able to effectively run the ball against that defense and keeping Rodgers off the field.
Patriots, are we just saying Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and just writing him in like the NCAA tournament?
As far as the championship game, I don't know. That'll be an interesting game between him and the Broncos and Peyton Manning. But
yeah, I'm with you on that. I think, though, that the Texans, who were overwhelmed by New England last time, and you know what? Got to ask Sean about this, too, because 22 times in history has a team been absolutely blown out by a team in the regular season and rematched them in the playoffs. And out of those 22 times, 11 times that other team has won, so 50-50. I could see the Texans coming in and making a game of it, but again, give me Brady, give me Belichick in the playoffs, and that's really all there is to say about that. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring on our very special guest, Sean Salisbury.
You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best around. And nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down.
And we are very lucky again to be joined once again by Sean Salisbury. He is the best NFL analyst out there. And Sean, we don't just say that when you're on the air. We definitely mean that, and we thank you for coming on again, my man.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Honored you'd say that. Appreciate it.
Well, we definitely are previewing the divisional playoffs coming up this week, but I want to take a step back with you, back to the wild card round. Just kind of want to get your thoughts if anything jumped out at you or anything was you found anything odd or something that didn't go the correct way last weekend, and just kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I thought the Bengals would have a little bit more effect on offense, but Houston stepped up and played pretty well. I was shocked how, considering all that went on with the injuries, it's been well documented with Griffin. I was surprised after a 14-0 lead that they completely turned away from Morris. I was shocked with all the injury talk. What got lost in the scope of things is Kyle Shanahan's the play calling in the second. I don't know why they went away from it. I mean, you got a guy who's been gashing people all year long. You got a quarterback who's injured, and not just hurt but injured. And I understand why they started him. But the eye exam, when you watch and take the eye test of a guy who's not moving well, you got to know when time is right to get him out. And if that's the case, then you go to your next best football player, who happens to be Alfred Morris, and why he's not touching the football on a steady diet in the second half is beyond me. I would have worked him and worked him and worked. Ball's not heavy. So that was a bit surprising to me. And just how abusive and nasty and physical Seattle's defense really is. They play angry. I mean, they're the new bully on the block, man. They really are. They talk it a lot, and they talk and talk and talk, but you know what? They back it up. And whether it's like Miami University, the Canes back in their heyday when Jimmy was there, the Ravens in their heyday at defense, when you could talk it, and they just go out there and bully you. And, they got a Marshawn Lynch who may run as angry as any back in the league. I mean, there's an attitude about them coupled with a poise of their quarterback that is unique. So while I knew they were a good defense, don't misunderstand me, Dave Stevens stepped their attitude and anger up in the playoffs even more. I mean, this is a mad, pissed-off football team, and I'm going to tell you what, Atlanta better have used that week to gear up and bow their neck and do what a hockey goon does, take your two front teeth out, because if you don't, they're going to knock them out of your mouth. And so, while I'm not surprised at how physical they are, but it's just that their attitude matches their play. They're abusive. And I mean that in a football way, not in an obviously off the field way. So they will tear you apart if you decide to blink, and they're pretty special. But a few of those things, I thought some of the game plans could have been changed, and I was shocked that Alfred Morris wasn't carrying the football more to control the clock and keep the ball in their hand, as opposed to let Robert Griffin III continue to run around there. And it got out of hand, and Seattle defense showed up, and you better be physical if you're going to beat that team.
Well, let's start with that divisional round game. The Seattle Seahawks traveled to the number 1 seed Atlanta Falcons. The Seahawks lost Chris Clemens with a torn ACL. That's going to hurt their pass rush. But then the Falcons have the 21st ranked rush defense. So how do you see that game playing out?
Yeah, I think this is going to be pretty good. The best matchup of the entire playoffs, other than I guess if we see Brady versus Manning, in the AFC title game, is these corners versus these receivers in this game. I mean, this is full-grown men getting it on the field. I mean, they're going to be in your face, pressing you. You're going to see man coverage, and even more so now, what happens is when your best pass rusher in Clemens goes out, now you've got to try to manufacture some things. You may not be able to line up in rush 4 or rush 3 or rush and get to the quarterback. And Matt Ryan's had a quiet, he's not going to finish in the top 4 or 5 in the MVP voting. I wouldn't do, maybe top 5, but he's had a quiet for a guy who's played so well season. I think everybody's waiting for Matt to win a playoff game. So they're going to see an opportunity to make big plays. I mean, with Julio Jones and Roddy White, you've got a chance. And if you decide to roll coverage and double both of those guys, the biggest name in this game becomes Tony Gonzalez at tight end. Because I don't think you're going to be able to run the ball 1,000 times against Seattle. They're physical. They'll be fine. You've got to mix in the run, but you've got to find a way to make some big plays, because they will grind. And your big plays are going to come out of some of the running game, but you have got to, and Matt Ryan's not going to beat you with his feet. You got to number one locate, and Denny Green used to always tell us this in Minnesota, know who to get and how to get him. And Matt Ryan's biggest task is going to be able to find the single guy. And that single guy is going to come down to Gonzalez, Roddy White, than Julio Jones, and I doubt Julio Jones is going to see a lot of single, but he may. See, the ego in Seattle, and Pete Carroll's got a huge ego. The ego in Seattle very may well be, we'll keep 9 around the line of scrimmage, 8 around the line, and we'll play a free safety over the top. We'll bring our strong safety up and let him kind of hover between, like a monster position, run game against pass game, also play both, and maybe try to help with the tight end and be physical with Tony. But we're going to line up our big corners and dare you to beat us. And that could very well be the ego of the football team in Seattle. And I'll guarantee if you talk to the corners in a meeting room and say you want to play man against Roddy White and Julio Jones, they're saying, hell yeah, I do. This is a major ego talking big receivers versus big corners. This is how it's supposed to be. This is a cage fight now. So I'm anxious to see. But don't be shocked now, especially as you start to creep towards the red zone. It's a matchup of Tony on a linebacker, Tony Gonzalez on a strong safety. It's a mismatch, even at his age, because he's still physical enough to manhandle a smaller guy, even though Seattle Seahawks safeties are big. He's big enough to manhandle a guy not as big as he is, and he's fast enough still to run by a linebacker. So, and he's a smart route runner. So that could be a big difference. And if you're Seattle, just let Russell Wilson continue to do his thing on offense. The guy who's poised as an 8-year veteran. The key is they can't turn it over. If this game was in Seattle, it'd be a no-brainer pick for me, guys. I'd have Seattle in the Super Bowl if they had home field advantage throughout. That's the difference it makes. We've seen the Atlanta fans will be fired up, but there's pressure on them right now. They've got to find a way to win a playoff game with Matt Ryan, and we're about to see if they can handle the pressure of a hot, nasty football team coming to town that thinks that they're the cock of the walk and the best team in the league, and that's Seattle. So we'll see. Can they make big plays out of the passing game and find the single guy will be the big key.
Well, now let's go to the other NFC matchup. Of course, Green Bay will be visiting San Francisco. To me, on paper, it looks like maybe right now San Francisco might be the better team. But the question is going to be, and my question to you is Colin Kaepernick ready to step up and win a playoff game, or does this game come down to who has the better quarterback, in which case Green Bay has Aaron Rodgers?
Guys, I always think in games like when all things being equal, and I don't mean that the defenses are equal or any of that, but if you get down to a point where the great equalizer, what's the big difference? I always believe it comes. Look at the quarterbacks that are left. I try to emphasize this, whether it's on any show that I do. And it's not because I played the position. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. You'll get people say, "Oh, great defenses and all. We got to have a great pass rusher." What about your offense? I mean, they get so enamored with all the BS that's being run, all important. But I don't care how good your offensive line is if your quarterback can't play, and I don't care how good your run game is. If your quarterback, look how good Washington's run game is. And Robert Griffin being hurt, couldn't plant his foot, couldn't throw the football, couldn't run it like normal. Look what happened to them. So you look around, what are the 2 weakest quarterbacks in the playoffs? Kaepernick and Joe Flacco. I mean, you got Schaub and Rodgers and Manning and Brady, and I mean, you go up and down the list. And Kaepernick's made a bunch once, maybe since he's once or twice at the most since he's been starting. And then Flacco's on a team that they think they're a Super Bowl team. So, obviously, we don't know. And anybody some expert out there that says, well, I know Kaepernick's going to play. Well, they don't know squat, okay? Now, Jim Harbaugh may know because he's practiced well, but even Jim doesn't know what it's going to be like to judge a guy's toughness and his emotional toughness. But as Aikman wants it, in their first Super Bowl, and I know this is a Super Bowl, but a single elimination similar. And any of us that have started a playoff game know this feeling that Troy's talking about. When he came out, I think it was the Rose Bowl's first Super Bowl. Maybe it was Pittsburgh. I can't remember who they were playing. They came out of he went through warm-up the whole week leading up to it, pregame, everything was fine. He felt relaxed. Coming down the tunnel, after warm-ups, when they were about to introduce starting lineups, he said he started hyperventilate and get sick and wondered if he was going to throw up and couldn't breathe. And that's that choke. Aikman obviously played awesome in all of them, and that was Troy's way of getting ready. But there is that choke factor that exists in games like this. Trust me, I've been in them. Good and bad, both. So it will exist. And somebody in the playoffs in each game is going to choke. And nobody wants to hear that. We always talk about the good guy who's going to be the MVP hero. Look for the choke factor, whether it's a wide receiver dropping 2 balls when he's open, Miles Austin when he's with Dallas. Look at the choke factor of a quarterback who plays well all year and then throws 3 picks when the money's on the line, or the choke factor will exist for Matt Ryan, who hasn't won a playoff game. Well, he pressed too hard because he wants to prove to people that he can win a playoff game. There's all these factors. So with Kaepernick in this game, We know how good their defense is. We know they can run the ball. They've got more playmakers on the perimeter. But what happens to a young quarterback, and sometimes a veteran, who hasn't been that game before? Is that you start to invent things. You start to see things that aren't there. You start to say, oh my gosh, are they blitzing? There's a panic. I'm not saying that he will. At some point, he'll go through a stretch where it's not real good for him. Happens to all of us. The question is, how long does that happen? With Manning and Brady, those happen about 2 or 3 plays, maybe in a game or in a series, and then they're done with it and they recoup. For some, it can happen 3 and 4 series and 2 and 3 quarters, and then you're out of the game. Because look at all the quarterbacks, as I said. I don't care what anybody says. No good quarterback, no shot. And, people will refer to the Buccaneers and the Ravens back. And those are the aberrations. I get it. But find me a guy, for most of the part, the Super Bowl, in both of those games, Brad Johnson and Trent Dilfer were efficient. But for the most part, you're not finding me a Super Bowl champion that doesn't have a quarterback that made plays long to get him there in a Super Bowl, period. The team's quarterback numbers will be outstanding by the time they're wearing the Super Bowl ring and the trophy forward. So, this is a hell of advantage Rodgers, advantage 49ers defense. But how are you going to defend all these guys? The whole key comes down to the Justin Smith thing is huge. Talking about huge. I don't believe Alden Smith can take over a game by himself. I think you need the other guy. If they protect Aaron Rodgers, I believe they win the football game. But they also got to show up a little bit on defense. I'm one of those guys. Give me the 12th or 14th or 15th ranked defense and the number 1 offense, or near the top of the number 1 quarterback. I'm going to beat you more than you're going to beat me with the number 1 defense and a 25th ranked offense. It's about scoring points, and if I can score more than you, I think that comes down to Captain Obvious. You win the game. So. I'm picking the Packers because I chose them in August to go to the Super Bowl, and I'm not waffling on that. But I love me some Jim Harbaugh and how he gets his team ready. It will come down to turnovers and who makes the most plays. I believe at quarterback. For the Packers, keep your quarterback standing upright. It will deliver. For the 49ers, will the choke factor kick in for Colin Kaepernick, or is this kid as mentally and emotionally tough as Jim thinks he is?
All right, let's go to the AFC side of things, and the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Mile High and the Denver Broncos. To me, this game comes down to if Joe Flacco can be consistent for 4 quarters and if that Ravens offense can deal with the Denver Broncos' number 1 ranked defense on 3rd down. What are your thoughts?
Guys, the AFC is easy to pick for me. I have a harder time picking the NFC. I think those 2 games are closer. And when we get to the next game, the Patriots and Texans, we won't spend long on that one. This one, you're talking about what maybe if Peterson doesn't win it, Manning's the MVP. Their defense can rush the passer. They got that dominant pass rusher that can take over a game in Von Miller. They know how to hit you in the mouth. Now, here's a team that I still don't know their offensive MO in Baltimore. I don't. I'm not sure they do. From Cam Cameron, now Jim Caldwell. I'm not sure if they're in a great rhythm. Now, they played well, and Joe made some big plays to Anquan Bolden down the field last week. But he struggled early. But he still made some plays to Bolden. So the big play will have to be there to keep up with Manning's offense. It just will. They're going to play fast and furious. But the other part of that is you can't let Ray Rice disappear. And you look at the stats. I said, this reminds me of the Minnesota game against Green Bay. I think he touched it 22 times or 23 maybe. I said that Adrian Peterson needed to touch it between 30 and 35 times. I don't know how many catches he had in the game. I don't think very many. But it's the same way here. You cannot let Ray Rice leave this stadium without being near 30 touches or more. You just can't. If Ray Rice touches the ball 18 times, Baltimore's not winning. I'm going to tell you that right here and right now. And why a team, and you don't have to, and look at the stats over the last 15, 20 years. I'm telling you guys, it comes down to obviously turnovers will be the difference. And I'm going to tell you another stat that people don't pay attention to. It's not rushing yards. It's rushing attempts. How many attempts a team gets. That'll be an alarming statistic if you look over, the last 10 decades, maybe 2 decades. The team with rushing attempts more often is going to win the game. Even if you throw for 480 yards on me, but I have 47 carries to your 26, and you have more yards, I'm more than likely going to beat you, unless we've turned it over 5 times in the game. So what nobody talks about is attempts. That means you're doing the things you need to do. More attempts means you're grinding clock, getting 3 and 4 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, getting first down. Ray Rice must be majorly significant in this game. Plus, you got to get the screen game going. You got to take pressure off Flacco, because Flacco's not moving in the pocket. He's not slow, but he's not. He's better than Tom and Peyton in the pocket, Brady, but he's your Colin Kaepernick. get the ball out on time, and I still question, is Joe ready to pull the trigger and get to the elite level? Because he is not an elite quarterback, right? He thinks he is, but he's not, because the consistency, and he's been in a lot of playoff games. It is time for him to carry, because it's like when you're raising your kids, you carry your kids all the way through life, and then when you get old, and then when you get old, it's time for them to turn around and start taking care of the parents. Same here, the defense has been taking care of the Ravens for years. That defense, I'm sorry, the Ravens and Broncos played earlier. Defense, guys, I'm telling you now, they can't keep up with the Bronco offense. They just can't. A little bit older, maybe a step slow. They're going to have to come up with. They're going to have to manufacture some turnovers and big plays. They're not the 49ers defense anymore. And even with the motion with Ray and the rest of it, they're not the Seahawks defense anymore. They're not. There's a few other defenses they're not anymore. But Ray's emotion will help. But, you know, emotionally, one thing, the motion can carry you so far. You still got to, the rest of the guys still got to play. And I firmly believe that Manning wins this game, and I'm not sure it's a 3-point game or one of those. I think this could be a touchdown or more. I'm not overly concerned unless Peyton Manning plays his worst game of the year. But Baltimore's defense is going to have to force some turnovers, because I don't think Baltimore's defense can score a lot on Denver, and I think Peyton Manning can move the football all over the field, east, west, north, and south, up and down, in and out on Baltimore's defense. I respect them, but I don't think you fear the Ravens' defense anymore like you used to. And I like the Broncos, even though the Ravens, you want to be a part of them. I love those guys, and there's part of me that pulls for Ray. But I just think in this time, it's not emotion. I think the better team wins, and that's a hard building to go into and play on the road. And they're on a 11-game win streak or whatever it is. That's a difficult building and a difficult team to deal with.
All right, guys, we are talking to Sean Salisbury. And, Sean, final game of the weekend, of course, is going to be Texans visiting Patriots. We saw New England just dismantle Houston the last time they came in there on a Monday night game. But out of the 22 times that this has happened, 11 times the team that got blown out came back and won the game. I think I know where your head's going for this game, and maybe I'm sensing you don't think that that's going to be one of those times here.
Well, I think you might. I mean, and I could come back here next week talking to you guys, and I may be shocked. At the beginning of the season, I felt to look at the schedule and where they were playing, that the Houston Texans were going to be the number 1 seed. And on the last day of the season, I said it. I said they should be the number 1 seed in all the playoffs going in. And they had it until the end of the season and laid an egg, and both the Patriots and Broncos ran right by them. And you just can't do that. Now they go on the road, take the pressure off, and they're not in the home cooking business. It's fine. Sometimes that's good. Some teams like to do it. I'm going to tell you right now what I'm thinking. Now, I don't know if the score is going to be like this, but you watched the national championship game on Monday night, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, that Alabama, Saban, Belichick, New England, Belichick and Brady, Lacey and McCarron and Saban. I don't believe this guy. I don't believe Houston's in this in the fourth quarter. And I'll tell you what, Arian Foster better be able to serve Gatorade. He better be able to hand out towels, order pizza, run for 160 and catch 12 balls. Now, he can run for 160 and catch 12. He can do that. He's capable of that. This is a special player. But all the rest of the guys, will their defense show up? I'm going to tell you right now, I mentioned the pressure you got to put on the Mannings or the Rodgers. There is no better quarterback in this building, and no better in this weekend, and no better quarterback maybe ever. But if you don't get to his legs and pressure him inside, you pressure him outside, he steps up and still delivers. That's why the Giants are such a great matchup for the Patriots, because they can pressure you with 4 guys. The 2 Super Bowls, they pressured you with 4 guys, and they hit Brady from the opening snap, and that's why they won. And it still came down to having to make a final play on the offense, both Super Bowls. If you let Tom Brady's jersey stay clean, he will absolutely throw a party and hand out the blowers and the party hats to the secondary of the Houston Texans. I promise you, you can look no further than anything else. Let the guy stand back there in the gun in an empty backfield or 4 wides and hand the ball to Woodhead and mix into Gronk. I'm telling you, they'll run him out of the gym. So while I respect the Texans and like them all year, but I don't like the way they've played lately. I don't think they're a very confident offense right now. Now the Patriots defense is not devastating. They find a way to get it done. But it's that offense. There's no reason why I picked them and the Packers being a Super Bowl. I'm going to stick with it, even though I think the Broncos right now are a better team than New England. But there'll be no more evidence of an ass whooping is if the Houston Texans cannot get to Brady. They'll run him out of the gym. It will be Alabama, Notre Dame if in fact Brady doesn't get hit. Now, if he does and you're able to get a few plays on and keep it close in the end, fine. But I just like the whole aura and the whole home field advantage for New England. I don't think Bill Belichick gives a rat's rear end about they whipped him the first time because he'll have his guys so ready to play. Because right now, let's not forget, this is still an angry football team because they lost the Super Bowl last year that they felt like they should have won. And, Bill doesn't, his memory is so long he doesn't forget it. Schaub, if they don't protect Schaub, you better have a good supply of body bags in New England that weekend because it'll be a butt whooping. So I'm anxious to see it, but to me the AFC is much easier pick than the NFC. Now watch what happens. The two NFC teams that lose that I picked, the two teams that I said are going to get beat are going to go in there and win the building. So we'll see how important quarterback play is, but I like the teams this weekend for three of them with the best quarterback, and then with Seattle in Atlanta. I just think you're going to have to Matt Ryan play like Brady and Manning because those corners are so physical and the momentum Seattle has. Confident, nasty teams in all these games are sometimes tough to beat as long as the offense doesn't do something stupid. So, but I will take the Patriots and the one in New England, Houston, and I'm not sure that won't be the biggest blowout of the weekend again.
Well, Sean, we're definitely going to keep this tape, and in case some of these are wrong, we will definitely be spreading this around everywhere, but only kidding, of course. But before we let you go, we would be remiss here in Kansas City if we didn't ask you about a non-playoff topic, of course, which is always, seemingly lately, the Kansas City Chiefs non-playoff topic. But the hiring of Andy Reid, really want to get your thoughts on that, and if you think Clark Hunt is moving this particular organization in a positive direction.
I do. I'm still fascinated by how many people don't like Andy Reid. Good gracious! I mean, if you don't like Andy Reid, then you don't like the 20 of the retreads we keep giving NFL coaching jobs to. I mean, I understand the last year and a half or so he struggled. Look what the guy's been through and still overcome. I mean, 2 kids have gone to prison. He lost one during training camp last year, and then how dare people say, well, maybe Andy should take a year off, as if they know, as if they've walked their ass in his shoes and done it. Maybe that's his only saving grace is that he can keep working because to take his mind off that. Because I've known Andy Reid for 30 years, 20-some years, and he's a great father, a great family man, loves his team, his players, loves his coaching staff, loyal at times to a fault, and is a special man. And aside from all that, I'm telling you right now, of current coaches that were coaching this last year, he's one of the 5 or 6 best coaches we have in the NFL, period. That's why he's so well respected by his peers. Now, let me just tell you this. The Philadelphia Eagles team sucked this year, okay? Had a bunch of guys that wanted to talk and chatter and not play. They can't protect the football. They can't stop it. But hell, I could take me, you, and the 5 of us in the studio and go out and beat Philadelphia, or at least score on them. They didn't scare anybody rushing the passer. They didn't scare anybody on. I mean, while there's explosive talent, Vic's explosive and LaShawn McCoy, they've got some talent. But give me a break. Who they scare this year? And it's amazing how quickly those guys. All of a sudden Andy Reid woke up one morning, forgot how to coach after 14 years, right? Just forgot how to coach. It's about playing. Like I'm telling you what. No offense. I'm talking about me. I could coach Tom Brady to 9 wins, 10 wins. I'm telling you that now. And that's not disrespectful to Bill. The difference is Bill can coach him to win a Super Bowl and put another ring on his finger. That's why he may be the best of all time. I'm talking about I can also coach a team to 2-14. That ain't hard either.
Exactly.
Who the hell can't do that? All you got to do is stay out of the way and shut your mouth, and they'll go 2-4. Hell, they may even go 6-10. Do that. But who can't? So it's about players, guys. There's only a handful of difference makers and coaches that are worth a couple games a year. Now, coaching's important, time management decisions, but I don't remember seeing Andy Reid make one throw this year. I don't remember seeing Romeo Crennel tackle one damn guy this year. And I sure as hell didn't see Norv Turner jack the ball off like Phillip Rivers 14 times in the pocket and throw it to the other team. And I didn't see Jason Garrett throw the ball on a swing play to the outside linebacker when the game's on the line and cost his team a victory. I didn't see any of that. Now, the quarterback's got the ball in his hand to make the right decision. When you get hit, protect the football. Things are going to happen. And I do believe, Andy, the speeches, when you've been in it's happened to Gruden, Cowher, after a while, Pat Riley, people get tired of hearing the same stuff, so it's time to move on. I think it's great for Philadelphia to move on. They need a new face. They do. And I think it's also great for Andy to move on because Kansas City, of the free agent, now I'm not talking about Cowher or Gruden or Dungy, of the guys available in the NFL that were hired, the Kansas City Chiefs got the best gig. Not only with their fan base and the support, but Andy got a great gig going there, but they got the band. They got 5 Pro Bowlers, 2 alternates. They got some talent. But the Kansas City Chiefs got the best guy available when it comes to guys who got fired. And there's no question in my mind. But it comes down to a general manager who drafts good players. If Andy has me at quarterback, he's going to go 1-15 and be hosed. You guys will be picking first again. If he all of a sudden has a player at quarterback, Russell Wilson, or Aaron Rodgers, or Andrew Luck, look, isn't it amazing? Manning takes them to Super Bowls, boom, they win. Jim Caldwell's a hero. Jim Caldwell's the greatest coach in the world. Jim Caldwell leaves, they can't throw up. Jim Caldwell gets fired.
Yep.
It's amazing. You bring Chuck Pagano in. Chuck goes through and hasn't unpacked forever, goes through a little bit of cancer. When I say a little bit of cancer, meaning he's healed, it's in remission. God love Chuck. So he goes to the sidelines and has got to deal with life issues, which are far more important than football. Bruce Arians, a good offensive mind, comes in. What did he go 9-3? And Bruce did his job. Chuck would have done the same thing, I'm quite sure, and Bruce will be a hell of a head coach. And God bless Chuck Pagano for rallying and getting this back and proving his toughness and the good Lord being on his side. But what were the Colts' record again last year? Let's see, 2-14. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then what are they this year? 11-5. And I want you guys to name me 12 players on that roster. Can you?
Yikes. Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
right. It's tough.
But now who's playing quarterback there?
Oh, we know that one. Good old Luck.
I
Man.
rest my,
You're right.
And I rest my case.
You're
so,
right.
Point being, look what a quarterback does to turn a franchise around. And that's not saying that it's only him, but he makes people. He takes ordinary players, and there's a lot of ordinary players there, and makes them extraordinary. Then you get a guy who's done. There's nothing ordinary about Chuck Pagano, who's an extraordinary man and an extraordinary toughness, with extraordinary emotion. And he's taken ordinary guys and risen them up to a new level. And then you get an assistant coach in Bruce Arians who teaches what Chuck wants. Chuck has faith in him when Chuck goes aside and deals with this life issue. And Bruce Arians proceeds to win 9 games or whatever it was with him on the sidelines, which showed Chuck instilled the right thing. The front office drafted the right player. And then your assistant coach did the job without an ego involved and took it over. And then all of a sudden, when you ran a dude out there, you ran a number 12 out there, a big old horse who could get you 11 wins, the quarterback. That's what you're going to end up finding too, because I don't care how they draft. If they don't get a guy that lines up behind center and can make plays next year, they're not winning much, guys. They will not win much. So whatever that guy is, or whoever he is, off-season or draft, they've got to get some, because their starter's not on that roster, unless Andy sees something that the rest of us haven't. But you did get the right coach in Kansas City. Don't expect him to be in the Super Bowl next year, but it'll be quantum leaps. He's not going to take baby steps. They'll be quantum leaps. Romeo's a great defensive coach, but he's not Andy Reid's head coach. He's just not. North Turner was my offensive coordinator. He got me. North turned me into a somewhat of a player when I was in college before I blew up my knee twice. So he must be a miracle working. All of a sudden, he's not a great head coach. I mean, some guys are just made different. North may be a great head coach at some point. It's about players and coaches and quarterbacks and players that take ordinary around them and make them extraordinary. That's the difference in Manning and Breeze and Brady and RG3 and Russell Wilson. Here's a third-round quarterback who's 8'5", 10.5 if you stretch him, who's overcome all this adversity about, he can't play, he's too small. That's why the Combine's the most overrated week of the year in football. And goes and makes plays, and look where I'm telling you now, if the quarterback from last year, I can't even remember who quarterbacked their ass last year. That's how far they've fallen. I mean, I don't even know who quarterbacked Seattle last year now. Whitehurst and somebody else? Well, Tavares Jackson.
Yeah, it was very memorable, obviously.
They're not in the playoffs even with that defense if Tavares Jackson's their quarterback. You do know this, correct?
Absolutely right.
No shot. Well, take a look at what Russell Wilson does. So, we can look around all this, and I'm sorry for getting so excited about it, but I'm so proud of guys like Pagano and what he's done, and they drafted a guy, but Chuck will probably be the first to tell you. And then I spent this last weekend in San Antonio with some veteran coaches that have coached in Super Bowls and been amazing coaches for years. And they'll even tell you, when a coach puts the ego aside, it's about players. Belichick coach in Cleveland didn't have players. You look, I want you guys, when you get off and we're done, get off the air and look at the coaching staff in Cleveland. Take a look at the assistant coaches on that staff and you tell me if they're not equipped with some of the best coaches you've ever heard of. And then look at their roster. Then go to New England and look at their roster. Tom Brady hasn't played with one offensive Hall of Famer. Randy Moss for what, a year and a half? 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Name me one other Hall of Famer on Tom Brady's football team on offense. Matt White's not going to the Hall of Fame. Name me one other one. Logan Mankins is still too early in his career. You don't have one, do you?
Maybe Walker?
You give me Gronk. Well, Walker maybe now.
Brian
Maybe,
Waters?
but I'm telling you right now, if Walker's retired tomorrow, think about how long. Chris Carter's not in yet.
Right.
He's not in yet. Took Art Monk forever. I mean, if Wes Walker's not a Hall of Famer today, and he keeps this up, he's going to make it. But what I'm saying is a surefire guy.
Yep.
Look what Brady's done.
Yep.
You think without Brady, Wes Walker's going to the Hall of Fame if I'm his quarterback?
No, well,
Hell no. so my point is, they'll tell you, with players, you're a genius. Without them, you're a dumbass. And that's usually the way it works.
Sean, I tell people you're the best in the business, and I mean it. I mean it wholeheartedly. You are the absolute best. We can't thank you enough for joining us. Of course, your buddy John Clayton's got the commercial with the Slayer shirt. I think we need to get you in one with a Winger shirt and do this thing right, my man.
Hey, I admit, and you know what? That commercial with John is hilarious. And the truth is, it couldn't happen to a better guy. All the years he's grinded and worked his butt off, he deserved it. And I love it that he did the SportsCenter commercial alone. It wasn't some, I know they had like the anchors talking to him and interviewing him, but the fact that it was John's baby, that he was there doing it in the ponytail, I couldn't have been more happy for him. He deserved it, and who knows, maybe one day we'll have a reunion, and I'm honored that you guys would say the things you say about me. I appreciate it. I'm just a normal dude who screws up plenty, but loves and has passion for football, but I would love it if John Clayton and I could do a PTI show together every day for about 30 minutes. I really do. That would be my dream job right now. If I wasn't doing Monday Night Football or being a head coach, my dream job would be to have 5 days a week to do a PTI type show and compete with the PTI and compete with it and just to see how we do, because I think that we have a pretty doggone good following with John and I getting after it every day at like 5 or 6 o'clock for 30 minutes. I think that'd be fun.
Well, considering your guys' YouTube fights have millions of views, I think you guys would do just fine on a PTI show. So I would watch it.
Well, I'm going to keep that in my back pocket so when John's ready to step out and go for it, or if ESPN ever brings me back, we'd have some fun with it.
Well, let's make that happen. Sean, you are the best. We got a couple more weeks of this before we say goodbye to the season. Let's do it again whenever you get a minute, because you're the best, and we'll keep up with you, my man.
Let's knock it out next Thursday and talk about what the championship games look like.
Let's do it. We'll look forward to it, Sean. Take her easy, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Okay.
Take care, Sean.
Bye-bye.
Amazing stuff from Sean Salisbury. Did I not say before we had him on that he was the best in the business? Did I not call that? Or?
I think you did. I think you called that, just like Ben McLemore called bank before he hit that last-second three to go into overtime against Iowa State.
Oh, I hope he called that, because that was a miracle for the Kansas Jayhawks. But we're still talking NFL playoffs, and I'll tell you what, Sean raising some interesting points about the quarterbacks, and I think he kind of agreed with this in that he's going to take the team whose quarterback's playing the best ball right now. He definitely likes, Brady and Belichick. He likes Aaron Rodgers. He's questioning Colin Kaepernick. Is he going to be able to make it through this game? All these things are natural, and I like what he said about Joe Flacco not being an elite quarterback. He thinks he is, but he isn't. I could not agree with that more. And Peyton Manning is an elite quarterback, so there's that to me.
I liked how he talked about Ray Rice and how he needs to get at least 30 touches if the Ravens are going to have a chance in this football game. And if they get away from him, if he only has 18 touches, then there's no way that Sean has them winning the game if Ray Rice only gets 18 or less touches.
And interesting, I think he talked most, the game he talked about most was maybe the one we talked about least in our intro, which is the Seahawks and Falcons, which to me, is as intriguing a matchup as you'll see, because Seattle is a wild card team coming in here at 11-5. They're playing as good as anybody, so it's just a toss-up. It is a toss-up as there ever is.
But then they lose Chris Clemens, so I'm wondering about their pass rush. They'll put Bruce Irvin out there to get a pass rush, but then he's a smaller guy, so they could run against him. It's going to be interesting. And Tony Gonzalez, how do they match up with him?
Well, as a personal level, I want to go back to Tony Gonzalez for a minute. On a personal level, looking at this as a fan, do you want to see Tony Gonzalez get that playoff win, or is it kind of one of those deals like he didn't get one here, don't care where he gets one, don't care that he gets one at all in Atlanta, whatever?
I'd like to see him get the Super Bowl ring. I'd like to see him get the playoff win. He deserves it. He's the all-time best tight end in NFL history. He's always been a great guy, worked hard in Kansas City. Things were going well with the Herm era. He moved on, and I'd like to see him get the ring.
Well, he's going to be a huge key in this game, and I think Sean mentioned that when we were talking to him. But Matt Ryan, is this Matt Ryan's time? Is this the the WrestleMania 3 Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant? Hulk Hogan beats Andre the Giant, goes up. Is this Matt Ryan's time to become Hulk Hogan, to slam Andre the Giant, to win that playoff game, to get into the elite status of NFL quarterbacks?
It's definitely his opportunity. Whether he does it or not remains to be seen, and I don't think he can. I think the Seahawks are going to come out. I think they're going to win, although I was more sure of it before the Chris Clemens injury, so now I do agree with you that it is a toss-up.
Well, these playoffs, guys, are going to be very interesting. We're going to be watching this weekend. We got a couple more weekends of this. Hope to get Sean Salisbury on talking playoffs next week because all the results will be in. Guys, we can't thank you enough for joining us. Don't forget Clint Schweitzer, Noah Groniger sitting right next to me, coming at you every week. We really appreciate all your guys' support.
Thank you so much for listening and liking the page and coming to view all of our great stuff. And we cannot thank Sean Salisbury enough for being on, the greatest sports personality ever.